Welcome to Surrender to Win, where we look at what's holding you back from experiencing a life of peace and joy that God intends for us all. I'm your host, Brian Anderson, and I am the Program Director and a Substance Abuse Counselor at Rob's Ranch, a Christ-centered residential substance abuse treatment facility for men. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural show of Surrender to Win. Hope everybody's had a great week. Hope your Friday's going well, too. Each Friday, we're going to tackle mental health topics that kind of make our lives challenging at times. Today, we've got a great show. With us is one of my good friends, Mr. Travis Taylor. He's an alumni of Rob's Ranch and a guy who spends every day trying to help others. Travis, how you doing today?
I am outstanding. It's a little warmer outside today than it has been in the last month or so, and I'm enjoying it.
Oh, very good.
Enjoying it.
Well, I talked to Travis a little bit before the show started and said, "Hey, man, what do you want to talk about?" And I think one of the things that I enjoy talking about with the clients that I work with here at Rob's Ranch and other people is the topic of control. And what I like to say with individuals is that actually control is the illusion of control, because we really don't have any control over other people, places, and things. And, you know, when we try to control things, it generally only leads to anxiety and more problems. That fear of things not going the way we want them to, that fear of people not giving us what we want, fear of things happening that we don't want to happen, and we find ourselves trying to control those things, and it only leads to anxiety. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. I know I've known Travis for a while, and I know he's got some experience with having the illusion of control over his life and kind of where that led to him about it. So something else I'd like to bring up is both Travis and I are veterans. Travis is a United States Marine veteran, also a combat veteran. What's that?
You didn't want to say that word, did you?
It's painful to say Marine. I served 22 years in the United States Army. I retired in 2013. Did 3 combat tours and faced my own challenges, faced my own PTSD demons, my own substance abuse. And I had to go through a really dark period of my life to get to where I'm at today. And a lot of that is centered around control and anxiety from that control. And again, as I've worked with Travis, and I've known Travis for quite some while, he and I are both really passionate about helping veterans and helping other guys. And so having him here today is great. So, hey, Travis, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your story, a little bit, how you ended up where you're at today and what life was like with anxiety and control.
Okay. Well, frankly, my whole life, control was an issue. Even as a child, trying to control things, wanted my parents to be happy and not upset or not upset with me, trying to control different aspects of life and just not realizing it. And I learned at a young age when I was put on Ritalin that helped what I thought control my feelings, my emotions, and different aspects that I didn't like about myself. And that kind of stuck. And at a subconscious level, I was always trying to control how I felt, what was going on, and it is a pointless endeavor.
Do you remember when you were young, what you were trying to control or what you were trying to keep from happening?
Sadness. I had some depression, and I think a lot of that was because of the Ritalin. Honestly, now, I remember middle school, just even having girlfriends that, you think about middle school relationships are really not much. But at the time, trying to control all of that and just said mainly I think my emotions and feelings, not wanting to be sad or stressed, and trying to control those things.
Well, I know, when I was younger, I never really felt like I fit in.
Right.
I could be in a group of 1,000 people and still never feel like I fit in. I still felt alone. And I remember trying to, control what other people thought of me. Control, hopefully, that they would accept me. And I found myself in, projecting an image of somebody I wasn't, just to try to get people to like me, project this image of somebody that I wasn't.
Right.
Control the situation. And that just caused great amount of anxiety.
Right.
And, unfortunately, I think there's so much of the world today that is in that trap.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at, I've done some research on the increase of mental health issues, and the percentage and increase of prescription medication for antidepressants and anti-anxieties is just going through the roof.
Yeah.
And I still think it goes back to people trying to control things. It's an illusion that we don't have control.
Or even pain pills. You realize that, hey, this makes me feel. This helps me feel good. It helps me control how I feel. And subconsciously, you start liking that sense of control, I guess.
I've said before, man, if people would just live life the way I want them to live,
Yeah, exactly.
man, everything would be great.
It would be awesome.
But I just don't know why people won't do that. Don't they understand that, like, I'm the best there is?
I remember, before I forget, what you told me one
Dude, you're a
time.
Marine. You guys forget everything.
I wrote this one down with crowns. I remember something you told me when I was a client here in your office.
What? You listened to me?
To this one, I did. I think you told me to call someone and ask them how I should feel
Yes,
for the
absolutely.
day, and then just go ahead and, like, first thing in the morning, call them, ask them how I should feel for that day.
Yeah.
Since I was going to give them that much control over my feelings and emotions, I should just go ahead and let them tell me how I was going to feel.
Absolutely. Hey, if you guys hear background noise, I apologize. We're still working some of the kinks out for this show. I'm actually doing this straight from my office at work, and I've got some other individuals out in the hallways, and so you occasionally may hear some background noise
There's magic happening.
Yeah, until I can figure out how to block some of that noise out, so I apologize. Bear with me as we work through some of these issues. I'm sorry, Travis. Go ahead, man. Did you ever call anybody and ask them how you should feel?
No, because I picked up on the hint of sarcasm you were throwing out
No.
with that statement.
No.
So I didn't actually try it. I realized it was kind of silly. But even today though, the subconscious stuff is tricky, and it will. Before I realize it, I am trying to control certain things, and I don't notice it, but I see the red flags. I can pick those up pretty easy.
I think my worst area for control right now, still this day, is driving. I just don't understand why people can't get out of the left lane.
Yeah.
I mean, I pray in my car and say, Lord, please help me, please help me, please help me. And then in the same breath, I'm telling them to please get out of the left lane.
Mm-hmm.
Except I think I don't always use the word please.
Yeah.
And but it's a control issue. I mean, the road doesn't belong to me.
Not
really.
And
I'm no more important than anybody else out there in the world.
right.
What makes me so special that I need to be able to drive, in the left lane and not be bothered by somebody else. And it's a control issue that I got to deal with. And, I continually need to work on that.
And family's big for me. Wife, kids that control, trying to control what kind of goes on there. I mean, yeah, I've got, as parents, we have a certain amount of reasonable influence in what we let them do and don't do. But I mean, ultimately, if my wife wants something done this way, and I think it's better that way, I mean, it kind of just comes down to she's not here, so I'm gonna do it my way, or she asked me to do this, and I'm just gonna do it because it gets done either way.
How's that work out for you?
Which one, doing it her way or my way?
Trying to do it your way all the time.
Usually not great, but right now she's currently laying down a lot. She just had surgery, so she's doesn't necessarily see how I'm doing things.
Well, I did read on Facebook that she gave you great accolades for being a great dad and a great husband, taking care of her as she recovers from her surgery. So, props to you, man.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My thing, the kids may be eating pizza and macaroni every meal, but I'm giving them vitamins also. So I think that is awesome. I
don't think that counts.
It does. I'm pretty sure it does count because they get the vitamins and maybe some minerals. In pizza, there's many food groups in pizza.
Oh my gosh.
So,
but anyway, Travis, I know you and I have talked about this a lot. Being veterans, having spent several years in the military for both of us, I know control was a big issue there. I know that you'd gotten into a leadership position as a sergeant, and I had been in leadership positions, and man, the military, they want us to be in charge of things. They want us to be in control of things. Right. And I mean, there's certain things out there where you need to be in control of things, and that's not really the control we're talking about. The control I'm talking about is that control of trying to change my behavior or change my personality or getting angry or those type of things because other people don't behave the way I want them to.
Yeah.
People don't believe the way I want them to believe. They don't do the things or give me the things that I want. And that type of control is or the illusion of that type of control is just absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
And the levels of anxiety that it creates. And then, man, you go right down the rabbit hole with that one as far as taking substances, medications, what we call process addictions, where people are substituting, gambling or money or sex or pornography, toxic relationships, materialism, homes, cars, status. I mean, you name it. The list goes on and on and on. And it's people trying to fill that void, trying to fill that hole, trying to control that anxious feeling, that anxiety. And that stuff just destroys people and destroys lives.
Yeah. I, with every part of, there's the big details and little details in my life, I know God wants all of them. And there are times when he'll remind me of that. If I find myself getting stressed, that's usually, or it is a red flag, but it's usually a red flag for control, me trying to control something at this point right now. And I have to remember that it's pretty simple. If I give God today, if I've done my prayer and I know that I have personally turned the day over to God and I want His will, whatever that is, it may look scary to me, but I want His will, then He's in control, and I know that. And I'll know as I go through the day, I never see it in the moment, but when I look back, I can see how He's woven things together. He has been in control of the day, and the little things and everything that's happened, and this stuff just works out.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'm not talking about, for the parents out there, we have kids. Obviously, we need to be in control of what they do. We need to be a positive, godly influence to our children, and show them, the spiritual way that God wants us to live. But by that same token, I've got 3 daughters. I've got a beautiful 20-year-old daughter who's getting ready to turn 21. I've got a beautiful 16-year-old daughter and a beautiful 12-year-old daughter. And there 16? There are things, yeah, I know.
I thought she was like 13 still, 12.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, it's painful, man. It's painful. They're going so fast. I know, it happens so fast.
Wow.
So anyway, there's times where their mother and I, we make decisions. We say things that my kids don't like, and they're going to be upset. They're going to be angry. They may even think we're horrible people, and that's okay. I have no control over how they feel about it. They're going to believe and think what they want to think and believe, and that's their business. And I'll probably go in. Well, I'll go into on future shows, with codependency and enabling. I know that was never any of that in your life, Travis.
No, thank you, Brian. I had it going on, and Brian ruined that for me.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
Talked to my wife and family, and after they talked to him, they said, Travis, we're not going to enable you anymore.
That's what I do, man.
Yeah.
I destroy your fantasy. So, I see parents all the time not doing the things they need to do with their children as far as correcting them and disciplining them because they don't want their kids to be mad at them. And that has nothing to do with the kid. That has everything to do with that individual. They don't want to feel bad. They don't want the anxiety of somebody not liking them or what have you. And so they enable and they allow them to get away with things or to do things because the parent does not want to feel uncomfortable. And that is devastating in the long run to the kid. It's devastating in the long run to the parent. For the overall mental health and the overall peace of mind that we have. And so that illusion that we have control over what other people think, say, or do is just simply that. It's an illusion.
Right. I've struggled with control, which also, like you were talking about, the codependency is they kind of go hand in hand a lot of times, but with either sponsees or guys I'm trying to work with in recovery, it's easy to get sucked into trying to manipulate or control a situation to where I think, well, this might help motivate them or work better for them, and then at the end of the day, it's their choice. It's what they're going to do and what they want to do and what they're ready to do. It doesn't have anything to do with how I manipulate or try to control a situation. It can be detrimental.
Yeah,
me getting involved in that.
And I get accused every once in a while by some people who don't understand this. They go, man, Brian, you just don't care about anything, and that has absolutely that couldn't be further from the truth. I deeply care about other people, but I also understand that I don't have control over what they do.
Right.
Control is an illusion. I might have great influence. I might have great persuasion over somebody, but I don't have absolute control.
Right.
And you've heard me say this a bunch, that when maybe a client that I'm working with or family members or other people go out and do things that I disagree with, well, okay, go knock yourself out. Do what you're going to do. It's not my responsibility. And in my practice, when I'm working with people, I let them know, hey, God gave every one of us human beings a precious gift, and that gift is the gift of free will. Mm-hmm. I get to do with my life what I want to, good or bad. And so does every other single human being on the face of this planet. And the idea of me trying to control what other people think, say, do, etc., that goes against God's gift of free will.
Right.
If God's going to give me the gift of free will, how arrogant is that of me or anybody else to think that I'm going to go in and control somebody?
Yeah.
When it's just simply not right. And so, I think control is it's just something that is just permeates throughout our entire society.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much into the politics of things or politics today, but just look at our own government, look at our own politics. The animosity that people have towards our government and government officials. I'm not saying that it's not warranted, but I don't like what half the politicians do. I don't believe half the things they say, but I don't have any control over them.
Right.
They're going to do what they're going to do because they're in that position to do that.
Well, and on the other side of that, if this person thinks I have the answer, so I'm going to control something to try to get this, they may not see what that their manipulation of whatever topic we're talking about may affect the other side. So when me trying to control this, and this works with not just any situation, but me trying to control something is probably negatively affecting someone on the other side because I don't see from their point of view details and things that if I wouldn't control it in that way, it would just be it'd work out a lot better.
So for our listeners out there, that noise you now hear in the background, if you hear it, is a weed eater. This is the noisiest day I've had.
Magic is happening.
So normally at this time on Fridays at Rob's Ranch, it's usually dead quiet. Everybody's gone to lunch, and it is usually dead quiet. And today, of all days, my first show, I've got power tools. I've got.
It is beautiful around here, though.
It is beautiful, but
wonderfully landscaped.
now you know what? If I had control,
Yeah, then you could go
I
out
would.
and you could
I would
control.
go out and yell at somebody.
Yeah.
And say, "What are you doing? Don't you see?
Bam.
Don't you see? I'm more important than what you're doing right now, and you're messing up my stuff."
You should drop your mic if you could. That was pretty awesome.
Drop the mic.
Yeah,
That could have been a God thing,
it was.
because right now
It
I'm
was.
in my headphones. All I hear is this gas-powered weed eater.
It's not that loud to me.
It's extremely loud right now in my headphones and quite annoying. So hopefully we can work out some of these bugs again for next week, guys. I apologize, but hey, it actually works out pretty good as showing that I don't have control over all this stuff.
Right.
So we got about 5 more minutes, Travis, before we're gonna call this show a done deal.
Okay.
If you will, can you kind of shed light a little bit about where your life went whenever the anxieties of life, the low self-esteem, the wanting to control everything, that feeling of not being accepted, where did that eventually lead you?
Where did me trying to do that lead me? You're talking about where we're trying to control everything and all that led me?
No, I was wanting to see if you could tell me how you made pancakes, Travis.
I don't make pancakes.
Okay.
I think with Bisquick.
Yes.
Massive amounts of alcohol and pain pills, and I didn't quite get to the suicide attempt, but I had made it in my mind up to end it all, and just a miserable, dark, sad place, and just the reality was that I was losing. In me trying to gain control and control things, I just lost more control of.
Became out of control.
Yes, completely out of control. And the only way around that was to surrender. Not around it. The only way through that was to just surrender.
Now, hey, that's a great segue.
Oh, really?
Because I decided to name this show Surrender to Win.
Wow.
Now, that's kind of an oxymoron, it seems like, or a paradox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if there's anybody out there that is listening that's a veteran, the last thing that they ever teach us to do is surrender. In fact, we have oaths and sayings that say we will never surrender. And I know whenever I heard the concept of that, I've got to surrender. In order to win, I have to surrender. I was like, you're out of your mind.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. That's stupid.
Right.
You got to keep fighting.
Yeah. And even when the concept of that was like, okay, maybe you're right, subconsciously, it took me a long time to break those old habits and the old things of not surrendering and just trying harder. If I just try harder, I'll get this.
Yeah.
If I just try harder, everything's gonna be okay.
It's going to work.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't.
No.
It never works.
I tried real hard.
No. Once you finally decided, okay, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I've got no control. I give up, God.
Mm-hmm.
I surrender. I'm not sure, but I think somewhere in the Bible it says something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Somewhere in there.
We'll get to that some other day. But when you finally decided, hey man, I'm going to surrender. I don't have control. What happened?
Things started actually working out, and things started falling together. And when I let God, I heard someone, I think it was Ravi Zacharias or someone talk about God's the grand weaver. When I gave up and surrendered to Him and let Him actually weave everything from the little details of my day together, and the big things, there's a peace and a joy that I have that's constant. I may not have that spiritual high all the time. I may be sad sometimes. I may be, things going on, but there's an underlying peace below it all that is absolutely amazing, and I'm just extremely grateful for.
Yeah, well, I understand. And, I've got personal experiences with that as well. So, anybody out there listening, I challenge you. Take a look at what you're trying to control in life. And is it creating an anxiety? And is it something that you can let go? Can you actually surrender to it? So, unfortunately, Travis,
man,
the half hour's
goes by.
It's almost up.
I had so many things to say.
There was so much room for activities.
So many activities.
So many activities we could have done. But we've come to the conclusion. So I'm hoping they let me keep doing this.
Okay.
And I can do this again next week.
Well, you're not in control, Brian.
No, I'm not in control.
So we'll see.
So, well, listen, guys. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Amazing weekend. Give it a shot. Try to give up some of that control. And you'll be amazed at what happens. We'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
If you or someone you know is struggling with substance abuse, please call us at Rob's Ranch at 405-253-3838 or contact Storm Incorporated at 405-503-7442. Thank you and God bless.